The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ, otherwise known as
And it is Friday in the Rib. It is Friday in the Rib, and Starfleet Commander COVID will go into our initial report.
Okay. COVID numbers as of yesterday in Massachusetts, 297,301 total cases. New cases, 4,985. Total deaths, 11,558. New deaths, 44. Bristol County cases, 28,002. Fall River cases, we had 90 new cases yesterday, bringing our total to 6,578. And we have no new deaths. So that still leaves us at, I believe, at 192. So.
Yeah, well, you know, and the COVID debates rage on in spite of the vaccines. I guess the new vaccine is being approved, the Moderna one, and that from Massachusetts. And I guess I saw Vice President Pence get his inoculation this morning.
I saw the same thing. I was going to.
And yeah, well, I know that the guy at Walter Reed was a little nervous. You could see that needle shaking on the way in because he said, if I hurt this guy, there goes my military career. But he got it. But you know, it's true. I mean, you could see it, and I'd never seen that before. Didn't you notice that? I don't know if you saw it, but he put the Band-Aid on first. He put one side of the Band-Aid on, and then he wiped the site with whatever, the antiseptic or whatever they do, and then he gave him the shot, and then he took the, you know, and then he took the Band-Aid and then laid it over and finished putting it on. But I've never seen that before. Actually, I don't even get a Band-Aid because I go to low budget doctors. No Band-Aid. You just get the shot, beat it. You know, after you get when you get the flu shot, it's like, see you later, as long as I collect my money. But, you know, the thing rages on. I watched Fauci yesterday, irritated the crap out of me, as he does most of the time, and I'm more irritated with the reporters because he was on Bill Hemmer's show, and he had a breakdown of all the percentages of spreaders in New York. And, of course, the highest spreader was, you know, social interactions with your families. And then they had a whole bunch of things and the percentages. I don't know where they get these percentages, but they had them. But whatever. This is the data. And you know what the lowest percentage was? Bars.
And those
under 1 point, it was 1.4%. And Hemmer asked him, well, you know, they're shutting down bars. They're shutting down these places that are at the bottom of the list of spreaders, and they're wrecking the economy. Do you think that's right? So rather than him saying, yeah, you know, they're wrong, this is the least place. This is the place you have the least chance of contracting this thing, because there's no place that's absolutely zero unless you go into a, you know, hermetically sealed jar or something like that. And you know what his answer was? His answer wasn't, yeah, you're right, they shouldn't be shutting these places down because heaven forbid their social conditioning experiment goes south. You still have to shut down, even if there's no data reason, even though they say it's driven by the data. He showed him that that's not what the data said. So you know what our boy Fauci said? Yeah, yes, you got to shut them down, but we got to give them some stimulus money. That wasn't the point of the question. And he never pressed him on it. He went into this thing about how, oh yeah, we need to give these businesses money. Yeah, and put put us, the taxpayer, in debt while all the millionaires get off without paying the taxes. But then again, that's what government does. They take your money. That is what they are experts at. They're not very good at doing anything effectively except taking your money and telling you what to do.
Well, now that you've spoken about the stimulus package, there is a proposed package that it's now been said that they're going to work overnight, if necessary, and through the weekend to get this package passed. It has money for businesses. It has a stimulus check to the people of $600, and it has a continuation of unemployment benefits of $300 a week. Now, I have a problem with that a little bit because they're going to get $1,200 to $1,500 a month more, plus they're going to get the $600 stimulus. How about all those people that are just getting a stimulus check but aren't collecting unemployment anymore? Why can't they get a $300 a week check as well? Unemployment. I mean,
I agree with you.
There's such a diversity, but here's where Paul's going to have a heart attack because there is no stimulus money for cities, towns, or states. Zip, zero, zilch, nothing,
nada. That's right. And well, it doesn't make any difference anyway. He's got his own stimulus package, right? How many we're going to have to incorporate another report. You had a report of politically connected relatives and friends who are getting jobs. It seems like anywhere in the city of Fall River, if you get a job, you have to know a politician or be related to a politician, because we talked a couple of weeks ago on a show about a school committee person's relative getting a job, and now there's another one getting a school department job, correct?
Actually already has the school department job. According to the school committee agenda, Tracy Costa was hired as a district nurse for the school department. Now, I did a background on Tracy Costa, and I found out some very interesting information. And it's interesting because Tracy Costa is an LPN, not an RN. Let's make that perfectly clear right off the bat. She is a LPN, not an RN. And according to, I got to bring this up because I got to have it. Yes, I do. Here we are. According to 603 CMR 7.11 sub 2, a nurse in the school department must be a baccalaureate or master's degree leveled registered nurse, not licensed practical nurse, registered nurse. And it has various requirements in the job, such as pediatric care, community nurse, that along that line that are required in there. This is the requirement. But obviously, Mayor Paul Coogan wants to return a political favor, or a political favor is being paid to hire an unqualified individual for the job. Now, she's only hired at $43,000, but nonetheless, she's not qualified for that job. So one of our associates has made it a point to file with the school committee that was sent out yesterday that a complaint will be filed with DESE and the Department of Public Health that this person is acting in a capacity as a registered nurse, being an LPN. That could, in effect, get her license suspended or revoked, because the law specifically says, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts regulation specifically says, you must be a registered nurse. So therefore, you have an LPN doing a registered nurse's job.
And I mean, look, listen, we've seen unqualified. We saw the Ice House guard get the DCM position. We saw the last bolo they tried to get in as a city administrator. And we've seen the parade of bolos. We remember the entry-level position that nobody in Fall River could get, but somebody from Seacon came rolling in. and who was the town administrator of Seekonk, and he was friendly with Sean Kadim. So it looks like the Fall River Employment Agency. The only way you can get a job is if you're a political friend or a relative. And while we're on that line, didn't former city councilor's relative get a job also in this latest round of the wave of patronage that's going on here?
You saying the school committee person or a city councilor?
No. Yeah, city councilor, former city councilor. Didn't a relative of Steve Long get a job?
Oh yeah. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
Allegedly, I say this allegedly, she was moved from the school department as the district nurse, I believe, to HHS. And if you remember correctly, the mayor made it clear that he had to move a nurse from the school department to HHS to handle the COVID numbers and to handle the COVID crisis, which at the time I didn't have a problem with. But now that you're looking at the fact that this is actually maybe a relation to the mayor, because remember, the Coogans and the Longs are related.
Yeah, by marriage, though. Yeah.
By marriage. But nonetheless, they're still related. This looks like nepotism. Doesn't look like it. It is.
And now let me get this straight, because you're the nursing expert, because you're a doctor nurse, PhD, like Dr. Biden. I'm gonna have to start calling you Dr. Ferry from now on. That's it. Since if somebody who is a doctor of education is treated like they're the Surgeon General, and he even recommended for that job by Whoopi Goldberg, that's we've gone from the ridiculous to the sublime. And by the way, we saw her dissertation, and it looked like a second grader wrote it. It was abysmal. And I know some people with real PhDs who were livid when they saw that and said, the only reason she got it was because her husband was the vice president at the time. So, but I mean, this again is government. Qualifications are irrelevant. Now, you're the guy that tracked this. And by the way, I think you should probably explain to the audience fundamentally, because there is a big difference between what an RN can do and an LPN can do. And even though they've expanded the LPN a little bit, RN is fundamentally the highest level, and obviously with the degrees that go along with it. But now when they moved that nurse that just happened to be a relative over to the city side, did that create the opening that the other person got?
That's something that's still unclear.
You're gonna have to check into that, because that makes it even more. It's like the domino effect,
Right.
You slide one from one place to another to make a whole. Because I mean, theoretically, if that did happen, and obviously this is if that did happen, they could not put that LPN into the position on the city side, because the individual that was moved was an RN and did have the credentials, the educational credentials, and she also had the nepotism patronage credentials. And that's the problem. Look, Fall River's a place where nobody can get a damn job. People are living on crap, and people are getting in, and they just keep sliding them in. And it's a total disregard. I don't even know where these people live. We did have a residency requirement. I know that person from Seekonk got a job, and they poo-pooed that. And we know where she got the job, because we know 2 city councilors went into City Hall and recommended her to get this position. So shame on those 2 city councilors for not finding somebody in Fall River that they could recommend for an entry-level position. Because I think there are plenty of people in Fall River that can fill entry-level positions. Now, obviously, when we're talking about something in public health, especially in this era of COVID, I mean, you really want to make sure that they're qualified. And apparently there is an issue with this. So welcome to our world but it never ends. I mean, DeLeo, the news is Senate President DeLeo is now leaving to go get a job in education. So somebody he did a favor to as the president of the Senate is now going to give him a $300,000 or $400,000 a year job at a college. Just like who did that? Billy Bolger? Didn't Billy Bolger Billy Bolger went over there and made, and they as soon as he became the president of UMass Dartmouth, I think he got a $200,000 pay raise. Because he was making $325,000, and that was a long time ago. Somebody else too from this city. Let me see if my memory, what was his name? Eddie.
I think it was a neighbor of yours.
Eddie. Oh, that's right, Eddie Lambert. What's his salary now? These guys always slide into these, And if if this, no matter how many times we say it, it irritates me just to talk about it, because people never do anything about this. They don't, and somebody used a quote I used years ago, and I knew the quote, and it's a very appropriate quote from Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens, whoever you want to call him. He had a lot of great quotes, but one of the most appropriate was, politicians are like diapers. They should be changed often and for the same reason. Because you know what they're full of.
That's right.
And that is one of the most appropriate comments I've ever heard. They're like diapers. They should be changed often and for the same reason, because they're all full of crap. And guess what? Now you look at the Leo, what did our friend Joe Menard do? She leaves the Senate. She gets a nice paying gig at BCC where she doesn't even have to show up half the time. Then she leaves that job, which is now piggybacking on her retirement from the Senate. She leaves that job. She gives her daughter gets the job. She replaces her in the patronage parade. And then she gets rehired as a consultant. They just never stop making money. And let's remember where they live. It's bad enough when Bezos bends us over and all these billionaires bend us over and pretend that they really care about anybody except their profit margin. But when people who represent one of the poorest areas in the state and one of the poorest areas, frankly, in the nation, this place has been a depressed socioeconomic area for decades, but none of them, they never want for anything. They get stipends, they get pay raises, they get jobs, and when they leave their job, they get a better job. They don't retire and go sliding off into the sunset. They go sliding off into they fall into a nice, politically gotten gig. They get another gig, normally for a lot more money. I mean, Eddie Lambert's in now. Now he worked his way up through the ranks, and now he's got to be getting over $300,000. He's got to be getting well over $300,000. So, forgive me if this thing bothers me. I know a lot of people that are having a lot of trouble. They were having a lot of trouble before COVID. And now we look, and all they know how to do is grab our money. And while we're on a subject on the money, our mayor was on television yesterday. Did you see him? Talking about the 80 billion tickets they gave out for snow removal, right? And why did they do that? Of course, he said it had nothing to do with the fact that the city's looking for money, which is bullshit, and we know that. It's absolute crap. And he gave something about, well, they've got to train the people. We've got to teach them again. We had a very nice mild winter. We got to train them. They can't park. Listen, that is crap. That is a giant pile of crap. I've been living on this street for 40 years. Over 40 years. I have seen a lot of snowstorms, including the blizzard of 78. And when the city doesn't need money, I have seen cars parked all over the wrong side of the street. And nothing happened. No tickets, no tow. They just plowed around them and plowed them in. Ironically enough, the time they give everybody on the planet a ticket, they swoop down like vultures, is when the city's looking for money. Weren't they ticketing vehicles before? Didn't we talk about this before, about them running around looking to give out tickets? Well, guess what? The last time I saw tickets given out at this rate was when Flanagan had the $8 million deficit. And I know it because I got a ticket. I was at the Boys Club working out, and they had a 3 o'clock. They had a 3 o'clock implementation of the parking ban. I was getting ready to leave. I was going to get out there about a couple minutes to 3, but you know how things are. You're in a gym, you're walking out, you're in a locker room, you're talking to guys, and I walked out. It was probably 3:05. Guess what I had on my windshield? Snow removal ticket. They were like vultures. They had ticketed the entire street. And it wasn't the snow didn't even come. The snow wasn't even due until like after midnight. But I got a ticket, so what are you going to do? I went down and paid it. Now, look, I'm not saying that people who got ticketed didn't deserve a ticket. But when you virtually ticket every single vehicle all over the city, how much did you commit? How many people did you commit just to ticketing and try to say, what are you going to do? You're going to socially condition everybody? You know, put the fear of God in them, give them a ticket. That's not what they want. They got their fingers crossed in City Hall that the next snowstorm, half of the people won't be able to get to their cars at 3 o'clock. And, you know, sometimes they can't. How about the people who are working? You know, and their car is on a street on the wrong side. They can't leave work to go out and shift their car. And you know, he gave it the old, we gave them public areas to park, and we did this and we did that. This is a money grab, and it was referred to as a money grab. It doesn't take the people off the hook that are parked in the wrong place. I mean, when I got my snow ticket, I paid it because I was on the wrong side of the road, you know, even though it wasn't snowing. So I'm not going to go whine and say, well, you know, didn't snow for 12 hours. Oh, I was on the wrong side. The ban is 3 o'clock. It was after 3 o'clock.
Well, what was interesting was, you know, the snow ban went into effect at 3 o'clock, and I happened to be looking out my window at 7 o'clock at night. There was 2 tow trucks and a police officer walking down the street giving the tickets. There was like 4 or 5 cars which had tickets across the street from my house, because that side is the side you can't park on. Mm-hmm. And everyone started running out as soon as the lights went on the tow trucks. I don't know how many cars the city towed yesterday, but I just thought it was interesting that the tow trucks were there. It could have been coincidence. It could have been any number of things, but I found it funny. And, you know, people were saying how wonderful that the city did snow removal in the South End. Well, I'm kind of in the quasi-South End. I'm in the Niagara area of the city, and I got 1 plow truck all night. I was up most of the night. I got 1 plow truck all night, and I had a 4-wheel drive truck with a snow plow on it, spinning its wheels on the Buffington Street side of the property. And I'll tell you,
you're on Santa's naughty list. That's why you're on the naughty list. But you're right. And look, I don't care if they're going to do this forever now. Fine. If you're going to show me that every single time, but I think we got enough crime in this city not to tie up police officers walking down the street giving out tickets with tow trucks, because look, that's a money grab. It was a money grab when they were roaming the city looking for things to tag. I mean, look, if you're violating the law, you're violating the law. But the reality is when there's a concentrated effort, and only when they need money, and the rest of the time they're just going to let everybody. How about all the cars? And I've complained about this to counselors and people for years. How about the people who park commercial vehicles and commercial vehicles with out-of-state plates overnight?
Oh yeah,
on city streets, which is prohibited. How about the people who have out-of-state registrations and live in Fall River? And I think, I think You have 30 days to transfer your registration.
Correct.
So I've had cars on my street with New York plates, all kinds of out-of-state plates for basically years, for a couple of years. And I know they're living in those houses because the car's always there when I come down the street. And I go down other streets and I see all kinds of out-of-state plates. And they're living in Massachusetts in violation of the law. So if you really want to enforce the law, but enforce it uniformly. Don't only do it when you need money, because now that's being arbitrary and capricious. So, it was on TV again. And, sometimes you listen to the story and they said people thought it was a money grab. And the people who thought it was a money grab are right. Doesn't change the fact that they were wrong. But then again, as we keep saying, two wrongs don't make a right.
Well, interestingly enough, here's the city's claiming poverty in one breath. Then in the next breath, they say that financially they're fine. And during the most difficult financial crisis for the people, the city's going to go out and gouge them for more money. Okay? Who cares? We're going to raise the water bill. We're going to raise the taxes. We're going to raise the parking meter fees. Oh, and we got a chance to give you tickets. So we're going to go out and give you all tickets. Yeah. It's just one way after another to get that money out of your hands. Even though financially people are strapped. People are so strapped that the food banks are getting swarmed. They have lines outside of the food banks. Speaking of which, there's a food drive today at the Y from 12 to 1, I believe. You can go down there, drive up in your car, and they'll put the food in the trunk. That just popped into my head.
Well, that was a good thing to put out there.
Yeah.
Oh, CJ, we got a minute.
Two things I have to answer here. That was one of them, was the parking thing. And I got a comment about, RNs are usually looked down on LPNs. Well, I got a sad statement for you. I started out as an LPN, so I don't want to hear it. I don't look down on an LPN at all. Some of my best friends are LPNs, and that's all they want. So I'm not looking down on anyone.
And I know a person, that I know because I actually did some consulting. She was the president of the union at Mass Hospital Schools. She was a state nurse who was an RN and a baccalaureate RN. But she began as an LPN. She became an LPN. Then she became an RN. She graduated from BCC. Then she continued on and got a baccalaureate. So nobody is disparaging LPNs, but the fact is they're not legally. They don't have the same qualifications, and they're not allowed to do the same thing. And I'm not a professional. You are. But the fact is, it's like the difference between an EMT and a paramedic. Right. An EMT can only do so much. A paramedic can do more. A paramedic can administer medications, etc. And these things are criteria. These are medical licenses. And with the medical licenses come rules and regulations that you have to follow. And LPNs are normally, they're not going to supervise people who have a higher set of qualifications. It's not disparaging LPNs. It's just a fact.
The other thing about this job is that it has specific requirements of work experience. And from what I understand, the majority of the work experience for the person who got this job is all in gerontology in the nursing homes. That's not pediatrics. That's not school. That's not community health. That's gerontology. So therefore, may be an unqualified person. And just by virtue of the fact that they're an LPN, they're unqualified. Well, it looks like we're out of time. Oh, the time flies when we're having fun. I'll tell you right now. Well, people, I want to thank you for watching. Thank you for inviting us into your home. It's always a pleasure to be here with you. And I think this week we got a full weekend, so that was nice. Hey, be careful walking on those streets. Have a good day. Stay safe, stay angry, and wear a mask.
Thank you, Dr.